Hello everyone, in this lesson we are going to analyze one of the most common and effective techniques used by attackers, which is the reverse shell. A reverse shell is a type of remote access method where a compromised machine initiates a connection to the attacker's machine, giving them control over the system. Unlike a traditional connection where the attacker reaches out to the victim, here the victim calls back to the attacker. So this technique is very effective because many firewalls and net configurations block incoming connections but allow outgoing connections, which is exactly what a reverse shell relies on. Let's now walk through the attack procedure using this diagram. On the right we have the attacker, which is the hacker, operating from a Linux machine in this case. The attacker creates a malicious.elf file, which is a Linux executable. They then activate a listener, this could be for example netcat or metasploit, which waits for the incoming reverse shell. Finally, they deliver the .elf file to the victim, in this case via email, but it could be also a direct download or a USB drive or phishing page. So we can see that on the left we have the victim, which is a Linux user who doesn't know that he is downloading a malicious file. So I tried to do this on a Windows machine, but since Windows has a very powerful firewall integrated in the system, every time you try to download a malicious file, Windows blocks it. So to demonstrate this attack, I decided to perform it on both Linux machines. So as I was telling you, on the left we have the victim, and the victim is using a Linux machine. So the users downloads the file, then they make it executable by running chmod +x file.elf. So chmod .x makes a file executable. So X stands for executable. And finally they run the file. So as soon as this happens, a reverse shell connection is initiated from the victim's PC to the hacker's listener. This gives the attacker a command line interface on the victim's machine, essentially allowing full control. To simplify the creation of payloads and listeners, we can use revshells.com, which is a powerful web-based tool for generating reverse shells. One thing I want to show you is that the website automatically takes our local IP address and puts it in the command, so we don't need to change that. So let's break down the main sections of this site. This is the most commonly used section, reverse. So you enter the IP address and port of your attacking machine and select a shell type, for example Bash, PowerShell, Python, and so on. revshells.com then generates a ready-to-use one-liner that opens a reverse shell from the target back to your listener. Then we have bind. So in contrast with reverse shell, a bind shell opens a listener on the victim's machine and the attacker connects to it. This method is less stealthy and often blocked by firewalls, but can still be used in internal networks or special cases. Then we have MSF Venom. This section lets you generate payloads using Metasploit's MSF Venom tool, in fact. So you can choose the format, for example .x, .elf, .apk, and select a payload. And this gives you the exact command to create the file. And finally we have Hoax Shell, which is a stealthy reverse shell over HTTPS or HTTP. designed to evade detection by antivirus and EDR software. So instead of real-time interactive shell, Hoax Shell works through HTTP polling, slower but much harder to detect. In this case, we are going to use MSF Venom. So each of the main categories, reverse, bind, MSF Venom, and Hoax Shell, has a left sidebar with specific techniques or variants. For example, under MSF Venom, you can find X for Windows executable, ELF for Linux payloads, APK for Android payloads, and so on. Each entry provides a ready-to-use MSF Venom command tailored for that format and platform. The same logic applies to the reverse and bind tabs. Each shell type on the left corresponds to a different implementation, for example bash with TCP, UDP, and so on. Now what I'm going to do is selecting the first option for MSF Venom, and I am going to copy this command that was created by repshells.com, and I'm going to paste it inside my shell. So what's going to happen now is that we're going to create the payload. Okay, now that the payload was successfully created, we need to transfer this payload to the victim. So one way is to insert the payload to a website like WeTransfer, and then WeTransfer will give us a link, and we are going to send this link to our victim via an email of like a phishing email. So on the victim side, we are going to open an email, and on our side, on the hacker side, this one, we are going to write the email to our victim, and we're going to insert the malicious file. So this is just a test for a phishing email. It's nothing serious. It's just to show you guys how we can give the victim this file. So now that we have sent the email, we are going to go back to our hacker's computer, and we're going to set up the listener. So now we are listening for any command received by the victim. So going back to the victim side, we can see that we have received the email. So if we click the link, we can download the file. So now what we have to do is moving to the download folder, and we need to change the permission as I showed you at the starting of the video. So we are going to making this file executable, and then we are going to execute it. So as soon as we execute the file, going back to the hacker side, we can see that we have entered the shell of the victim. So if we launch some commands, we can see that it's like we are inside the shell of the victim who has opened the file. So you can have fun like moving between folders and deleting things, deleting files, or creating new files. So yes, the test was successful.